Laura does love me. That's a grenade! Nice!
So the cult named themselves Admonition. I should have seen it. And that they were the true architect of...
Tranquility comes a step closer.
Go back, go back!
Compliments on the guard!
guys, welcome to another video, just with an updated, kind of a tweaked version of my in-depth grenadier or grenade veteran guide. If you haven't checked that out first, or if you haven't checked that out, please do so first. This will be an attachment to that video. That in-depth guide will give you a lot more information. This is for people who want to fine-tune it for Havoc 25 to 30 plus, and want to have a bit more optimizations and stuff. With that out of the way, let's go into the talents. That's the first thing I want to talk about in terms of adjustments. As per the last video, section 1 doesn't change too much. Toughness replenishment with Out for Blood when you're combining it with Born Leader, etc. Section 2, we still take shredders. Section 3 hasn't changed. What has changed is we take all the grenade tech now. In my previous version on the 4 other variants, I don't tech into this. As I'm going further into Havoc, this got a lot more value, and I'll explain why in a moment. To try and keep this as clear and concise. So with this final updated build, and I'm pretty sure nothing's going to change, I don't see myself changing anything. I will play around with a weapon specialist variant of the grenadier, but I'll come back to that at another point. This is specifically for focus target because that's my preferred way to play. Field improvision, yes, you do only get 2 grenades from your ammo crate in Havoc. That's fine. Grenades are still extremely impactful. Getting another round of grenades on your Ogre and on your Zealot is still useful. If you have a Psycho, that usually means I get to double dip into it, and my grenades are arguably, in my opinion, the best in the game. The only reason I give priority to Ogrens or teammates in general with 0 grenades is because I can regenerate them with Demo Stockpile and Demolition Team. In the instance that they have grenades, I'll dump mine and I'll pick up the ammo pickup, because with Grenadier in Havoc, yes, ammo crates only give you 2 grenades, but ammo pickups give you the 4 full grenades, which is a crap ton of value. That's where this build will start to outshine Plasma Vet for the most part in terms of like horde control and stuff, in my opinion. There are going to be situations and variables where that's different, but in terms of this playstyle, comparing it to the only really other vet playstyle I've played that competes in numbers is Plasma Vet, so everything else I'll disregard. Going back to this, when you're in a horde, if you have a heal crate, shit hits the fan, dump your crates down, everyone gets ammo, everyone gets grenades. It'll replenish toughness, which will help prevent chip damage and restore corruption. Combined with, you typically have an anti-corruption Zealot, you can get rid of it very quickly. You can pretty much tank things like Beasts of Nurgle, for example, if you get hit by a Pox Burster, or if a Crusher goes through the yellow toughness. Crushers do, I think everything does corruption damage now in melees, but instances like that, your field improvision will get more value. It already has good value. It's just a solid 1-pointer. When you need to, you can just pretty much create like a bastion, like a stronghold, and you just sit there and you can pretty comfortably clear anything. In high difficulties, Twin Blast just keeps getting more and more value. It helps grenade generation. It helps apply 12 stacks of bleed. You combine it with 1 shot of your bolt pistol puncture. Everything's going to be at max stacks of bleed. Something I didn't explain in the previous video, but left a comment about, is that bleed does exponentially more damage depending on the amount of stacks you have. So if you have 1 stack of bleed ticking 16 times, it's going to be doing anywhere from 10 to 40 damage depending on the enemy and damage boosts, whereas a tick of 16 stacks of bleed can do anywhere from 250 to 400 to 600 plus damage, again depending on modifiers and enemy armor type. So that's why I really like it. You can go from only having to use 1 grenade, getting a twin blast, a couple of bolt pistol shots, and priority targets are dead. Like, it's that simple. This doesn't change. I explained why this is good, because you can pick up 4 grenades. Again, it just helps with grenade generation, conservation. This is a grenade build. In Auric and Below, I don't know if it's necessary, but again, this is more than capable of any content in the game, and I've been having a lot of success with it. Another thing I changed is now I take only in Death to Duty End. Yes, the radius does get decreased on voice of command from 9 to 6 meters, but your coherency aura bonus is about, well, it's like 5 to 8 meters anyway. So what I've noticed is that people adjust their gameplay for the better so that everyone is sticking in coherency bonuses. Not to mention the main part is the harder difficulty it is, the worse the situation, the more likely a down is a death. And when one death happens, it usually escalates and becomes worse and harder to stay alive. With this way, assuming everyone's sticking together as they should be, someone goes down, boom, they're instantly up with yellow toughness. Like in Havoc, where it's very fast paced, I know this gets a lot of value. And because of the enemy density, yes, the duration gets increased by 50%, making this 45 seconds. What that realistically, in practical terms, changes is you need to kill 2 more specialists in a rotation. That's 12 seconds, a little bit of downtime. Is it noticeable? Yes. Is it worth it? Absolutely, in my opinion. I think so, that's why I'm taking it. Try it out, I think you'll have good results. It also means you don't need to take res speed and cures if you're someone that does. You don't need leave no one behind if you're teching into that personally. None of this changes. I tech out of this completely to make room for both of these and a point down here, which I'll explain soon, and to get 2 points here. The higher you go in Havoc, I notice that these are contributing less and less to hitting one-shot breakpoints, and at a point you don't hit one-shot breakpoints anyway. You will consistently hit 2 to 4 shot breakpoints unless they got like the Cranium Head and Nurgle Blessed, whatever it's called. In those situations, yeah, you're basically just gonna put a few shots in a grenade to apply bleed and get into melee if you have Uncanny to get your rending stacks, or whip out your melee to again get access to rending. The biggest one that hurts is fully loaded because it makes your ammo pickups less valuable, but again, I find myself, the higher I go in difficulty, the only things I'm really shooting are dogs, trappers, mutants, machine gunners, snipers, bosses. Anything else really doesn't warrant it, except in the one other scenario where a mixed horde comes. I'll either double lob a grenade or I'll get lucky with a twin blast, and then I'll put a shot into priority targets to get the max stacks of 16 across value targets, and then I'll whip out my melee weapon, get the rending in. It's a great way to outrange, just keep dealing max stacks and get priority targets down. Yes, it sucks not getting these, but I really find that, again, the higher you go, these are contributing less and less, these two specifically. But fully loaded is the biggest one that hurts, but again, it's more than doable. You still have survivalists, you're still going to be generating ammo. Put it this way, you're using one of the most blessed weapons in the Imperium, a bolt pistol. You're getting bolt to shells. Not all heretics deserve something that blessed. Put it that way, like in thematic terms. That's the best way I can put it. Not everything deserves that. Only really important stuff is, like the 6 things I just described. You still go target down, attack out of redirect fire, because I don't really find, I prefer other things, and what I'm trying to say. Now, if you have Uncanny Strike in your melee weapon, you go Competitive Urge because you already get a crap ton of rending. You don't need an extra 10%. If you're using a weapon that doesn't have access to Uncanny Strike, so like the Shock Maul I'm currently using, you'll use Rending Strikes, and I'll show you why right now. So if I go to my bolt pistol, I won't have access to Opportunist. So if I throw my frag, this will be 21 bleed. There you go. Now if I go to my Shock Maul, this should do 42 bleed. There you go. And the reason for that is because, actually I'll come back to the reason why. Just know that it's a rending blessing that's working, and then when you would chuck the final blessing, it should go to 50 damage bleed. Oh, well, we've got a twin blast, but I mean, now you can see how much that does. We got another twin blast. Okay, the game loves us at the moment. There we go, it should be 50. There you go, 50 damage if we're using focus target and twin blast, because I mean, yeah, I mean that is the point of the build. 160 damage, you pop one shot in, you walk in. I when you don't need to. It just dies in Damnation, but in Havoc and above, you'll put in a few shots, you'll get your Skull Crusher in. A tech I want to show you too, before I get into some extra stuff, is with Crushers, the reason I'm liking the Shock Maul is, again, it adds a damage over time, so something that you can do. Focus target, get a grenade, usually it's one. I mean, like, look at that damage, it's kind of crazy. You just walk up and whack it twice while it's got Skull Crusher and it just dies. And basically what happens, you chuck a grenade, you have your focus target, you go around and you go start shocking stuff. Something to note as well, if you're going to use the Shock Maul, you don't need to wait for this entire animation. It's how many stacks of shock I'm applying. Yeah, so if I do 4, that should be 4 like ticks. Yeah, that was only 2 ticks, but it's, I don't know why it's showing, it's probably because I have double, my mods are making it look like it's damaging twice. Yeah, so what it is, now we learn in real time, either way you don't need to stay for this full animation, you can pull out. This will be harder if you don't have mods, I've come to realize now, but if you're not playing with mods, I guess you got to learn the timing like I was doing previous to the mods. Learn that timing, the second 5 stacks of shock is up, you pull back anyway. Again, to show it, cool, we didn't get a twin blast, we hit it twice, we shock it. That's pretty good damage. Again, you whack it a couple of more times, assuming you're proccing a Skull Crusher too. It's a really good way to just deal with Crusher packs. Again, if it is a Crusher pack in the mixed horde, you're probably going to get a twin blast, or even better, you get 1 and a twin blast, you shock, you whack it once. This will one shot or pretty much leave Crushers at 1 shot, assuming your teammates give you any type of damage. Really good, it's consistent, I like it. Anyway, moving on from that, we're doing some testing real time. I wanted to talk about, a couple of people have said that they're pretty sure that this is just a bugged interaction, lethal proximity. The reason I'm of the impression that this is a, what's the word? It's like, it's an interaction that's meant to be, is because of the Shock Maul having access to a blessing called Falter. You can take Falter on the Shock Maul, then take No Respite on a las gun, and you'll still gain access to the 20% damage. So you take Falter on your Shock Maul, then you can take No Respite, then Infernus, or whatever other, like the Brittleness, whatever you want. And that's a way to like triple dip your las gun in damage. And these specific types of interactions where you don't need your blessing in hand to benefit, you don't need your weapon in hand to benefit from the blessing, those type of interactions came with the Unlocked and Loaded patch, just like the Shock Mauls were kind of shocking without having to charge. I do believe that these were intended, and it's just a path that Fat Shark is going down to add more diversity and, I don't know, fun to the game, because like you saw now with like the newest update with the Havoc, the Power Sword, and Psyker's two-handed sword as well, they've got like such unique ways that they interact. I'm pretty sure this is just the way that they're going down. What also leads me to believe that is if you go to the Shock Maul and actually check the blessing, this was changed. The wording wasn't like this originally. What changed is it says additionally increases range stagger strength by 30% to make it clear that it also benefits things not in hand. So Fat Shark, if you're watching this and if it is an intended interaction, please feel free to go to the bolt pistol and add that same wording to lethal proximity. Additionally, explosion radius increases by 25%. I think that will help with some confusion. If it's not intended, then cough cough, leave it in. It's very fun, it's awesome, don't touch it. Anyway, moving on, that's everything in regards to the talents. I just explained the weapons and that unique interaction. The reason I want to go into that is playtesting Skull Crusher. You'll always take a Rending Blessing in Havoc. Skull Crusher doesn't apply to grenades and Voice of Command, meaning you have to apply Skull Crusher stacks with your attacks, with the Shock Maul itself. However, as you saw with Opportunist before, the grenade stagger, the initial explosion, does affect Opportunist for a few ticks. As long as they remain staggered, you're benefiting from the rending. Every other weapon still works perfectly fine. It's more so that now that the Shockmaw is also one of the prime weapons, again, applying Skull Crusher with a special attack, with focus target, that's 100% damage you're applying to something after 2 hits to your teammates and yourself, not to be slept on. With the Curios, I'm testing something. I wouldn't say you have to change it, but if you're interested and want to test it yourself, it's been working in practice. On theory, it doesn't seem so good, but I mean, it is working. So when I struggle, I'll change back to the flat 5% toughness and see what works better. Maybe it's like a 2 block efficiencies or 2 toughness regenerations, but regardless, what I'm running is 30% toughness regeneration on 1 cure. I'm still running flat 5% on the second, and flat 12% block efficiency on the third. I do like my shovels and my shockmaws. They have a ton of stamina that you can use for blocking. Comes in handy, especially when you need to buy space, get your block out, dodge a few times, use your shout grenades to buy space for your team. It's all working nicely. That's pretty much it though. The biggest thing is just really impressed with how good this interaction goes. Double grenade, focus target, the staggered rendering. The Agni Shockmaw has, as you can see, it has 2 overheads that you can chain into 2 more overheads, which is like a single entity. Its first lighter take is to the side, which you will chain into your heavy for horde clear, to things that you need to lock down, like especially bulwarks to open up their shield. That's where this really excels. Again, you don't need to put the 5 stacks. If there's priority targets, you do your ping, get at least 3 stacks. See how long 3 stacks stuns them for? So you just go around, boom, 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 boom. Sure, that's only 2 here, but if I had creature spawner, I can control 4 to 6 like ogre and size enemies, maulers as well, rages, fairly consistently and confidently, and I'm sure I can maybe push that to 8 to 10 with more practice. Maybe 2 is the sweet spot. Again, this is just going to come with more testing and playing, but this overall setup, the metric that I'm using to base that this build is good is impact. Most people judge it on damage alone, and yes, damage is a single metric that I use for overall impact on a run, but also the amount of crowd control and the amount of like utility I can give to a team. So I'm giving survivalist, I'm giving born leader, I'm giving target down, I'm giving focus target. Those are all utility crossed over with damage with focus target. The amount of crowd control, I'm doing the skull crush and the natural stagger of the shockmaw. This build has a lot of impact. I can res on my shouts, it still staggers as well. It is not lacking in the damage department either. But yeah, that's everything with the build covered. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care, God bless, have fun.
I thought I could perhaps overlook this indiscretion.
You want a car?
Shall we say a 20-80 split in your favor? Call